I'm going to talk about trust today because it's something that is very important. And I think a lot of us have experienced what it feels like to have our trust broken. But maybe we haven't explored too deeply what it means to build trust within ourselves, within our relationships, and really what it takes to repair our relationships when trust has been broken. And a lot of what I'll share is based on Brené Brown's research. She describes trust as an investment. It's something that people contribute to and they build over time. We earn people's trust over time, and it's really built in small moments. Trust is inherently relational. So when we're thinking of building new relationships and friendships, especially with people across difference, from people with different backgrounds and different cultures, we can really move at what Adrienne Marie Brown calls the speed of trust. She talked about this in her book, Emergent Strategy. So, again, trust is something that's built over time by consistently showing up and respecting ourselves and respecting the relational container, the space between two people. We're respecting ourselves, our boundaries, and we're respecting the other person and their boundaries. And relationships, they're inherently vulnerable because they really require us to open ourselves to potentially connect or get hurt. So we can't control other people. I know a lot of people have tried, but we cannot control people. We cannot control outcomes. So we really risk a lot when we try to be in relationship with others. We risk opening ourselves and getting hurt. But that's the risk that we must take in order to brave connection, which is what Brene talks about. And to trust, it doesn't mean that we open ourselves to every single person that we meet. This is where discernment comes in. And I believe that we should be kind to everyone that we meet, but I also believe that not everyone deserves your trust and your openness. It's good to reflect on what trust means to you. What has it meant for you in the past? And how has your trust been betrayed? What do you value when it comes to trust? And in your ideal relationship, what does trust look and what does it feel like? By getting clear on what it has meant to you and what you desire, it's easier for you to honor yourself and um, honor your relationships. Because if you're clear about your needs and your desires, if someone's not willing to show up for you in that way, at least you know how to meet your own needs because you know what you're needing. This is when you can become very sovereign because you're very in touch with your inner world, what you're needing, what you're desiring. And if someone isn't willing to give that to you, you know how to meet that need yourself. So let's go into what it means to brave connection because I want to put more emphasis on the relational piece rather than just focusing on self-honoring or giving yourself, meeting your own needs and trusting yourself, which are both so important and crucial. But let's for this video, let's talk about what Brene Brown's research teaches us when it comes to braving connection. She uses the acronym BRAVING to to help us break down what trust actually looks and feels like. So for B, she says that stands for boundaries. She says that there's really no trust without boundaries, and there needs to be this like reciprocal respect for each other's boundaries. That's crucial. And it took me years to even understand what boundaries are and how to communicate them. So if you feel lost or you feel confused about what your boundaries are, it is a learnable skill and it's possible to understand over time what your boundaries are and how to communicate them. So if you feel a little lost at the moment when I say boundaries, just know that with time and with practice and with information, you can really embody it because even 5, 6 years ago, I had no idea what boundaries were. And I promise you it's possible to learn what your boundaries are. So B, boundaries. R stands for reliability. Do you do what you say you're going to do? And this again is something that is shown and it's built over time. Can I rely on you to do what you say you will do when you say you will do it? That's big. And I think that's really big in our culture right now because I think a lot of people are flaky. And I think it's maybe because of like the overwhelming options that everyone has and also the overwhelming burnout that a lot of people are feeling that it's really changing our culture in a way that maybe we feel like we can't rely on people. We have to rely on ourselves. And I think that's something that needs to be a bigger cultural conversation because I definitely notice how it's more rare, I think, for people to be reliable nowadays. But maybe I'm wrong. You can let me know in the comments what has your experience been when it comes to people being reliable. All right, the next one. So we have B for boundaries, R for reliability. Then we have A for accountability. This one is very big. And a lot of people don't take accountability for their actions. And I think it's definitely an emotional intelligence kind of skill because you need to be in touch with yourself. And it requires some vulnerability and some emotional intelligence. Because when you inevitably make a mistake because you're human, do you know how to own that? Do you own it and not point the finger or blame other people for your behavior? Do you take accountability and apologize when you know you did something wrong? Because there's no making amends or building a bridge to repair the harm that's been done when someone's not willing to take accountability for their actions. It's huge. It's a really big, important skill when it comes to relationships, learning how to take accountability and learning how to repair harm. It's foundational, really. And it's such a shame that it's so rare. People aren't taught how to do this. It's learnable. It's a skill and it's possible to learn how to do this. A lot of respect can be lost when people don't take accountability. And I think, yeah, there's a level of emotional maturity that has to be reached in order to do this, but it's very important. Having the skills to take accountability and repair harm are crucial. The next one is V, and that stands for vault. This one's so important. And on a personal level, this one is very important to me. I am always paying attention to how people talk about others. And if they're gossiping about other people, I know from experience that they will do the same thing about me. So being a vault for someone to me is sacred and it holds the relationship with respect because you're saying that your time together matters and what you share together matters. It's something that is sacred. Like I said, it's something special that we have. I trust you to hold what I share in confidence, and the same goes for you. I will never tell other people your personal history or anything intimate that you share with me because I've experienced the opposite. It's it's really painful to know that you share something with something so intimate and personal and deep and vulnerable and painful at times, and then to find out that your friend who you thought was your friend, they shared it with someone else. That's it's so unnecessarily hurtful. So V vault, that's very important to me. And if you are used to gossiping with other people to make connections with others, I I dare you to just kind of take a look at that because you might think that it's bringing you connection with other people, but it's not real connection. It's not real intimacy. Intimacy isn't based on putting yourself above other people or sharing personal information. Intimacy is about sharing some of our most vulnerable spots that not everyone gets the opportunity to see. So let's just respect people and respect where they've come from and give them that kind of honor by just keeping whatever people say with confidence. And maybe that's me being a social worker at heart and also having that kind of skill training. But I think it's so important for everyone. Okay, the next one is I. I stands for integrity. And Brene Brown, she defined integrity as choosing courage over comfort and choosing what's right over what's fun or easy. It's about practicing your values and not just professing your values. A supportive relationship would have us both inspired to act from this deep place of integrity. So just take a moment and reflect. Are you living in integrity in your relationships? Are you living in integrity with yourself first? Think about that. Okay. We'll go to N. N stands for non-judgment. So to be in a caring and trusting relationship, we need to be able to ask for help without the fear of being judged for it. People who judge others for needing help do that because they they judge themselves when they need help. So this openness and this non-judgment, it really needs to be reciprocal. Think of this as having emotional safety within a relationship. It needs to go both ways. It can't just be one-sided. And this is me saying this as I used to be such an overgiver. It was my relationships were not reciprocal. And I really had to take a step back and wasn't even just one step. It was really years of deep internal work for me to realize like I want I want something real. I don't want to just always be overgiving and I want it to be reciprocal. And if I'm experiencing emotional pain, I want to have relationships that care and that would actually want to hear my struggle and would want to be supportive. And the same goes, the other way. Like I want people to know that I am a safe space for people to share whatever they're going through. That's very important to me. Think about how different the world would be if we were in relationships where we actually felt safe, emotionally safe to be with them. Whew, just, it makes me emotional to think about that. because unfortunately, I feel like it's very rare. Our world would be changed if people felt like they were cared for, I believe. And let me sit with this for a second. Hmm. We don't need to push through big emotions. We can sit with them and breathe with them. The last one is G, and G stands for generosity. This one feels big because it feels rare in our world, just like all of the other ones, really. Cancel culture is a phenomenon that does not leave any room for grace or generosity, I believe. And Brene described generosity as being able to assume the most generous thing about the other person's words, intentions, and behaviors. If the other person does something wrong, you don't automatically jump to the worst conclusion. You instead offer, it really is an offer. You have space within yourself to offer a generous assumption rather than having your body react and jump to the worst conclusion out of your fear response kicking in and your mind going to the worst conclusion. Instead, you have space within yourself that you can offer a generous assumption, and then you can check in with the other person. So, something that has been such a deep learning for myself is that conflict really has someone, I forget where I learned this. It might have been nonviolent communication, it might have been authentic relating. I'm not sure. I don't remember, but conflict is really an opportunity to deepen intimacy. It's an opportunity. It doesn't have to be conflict doesn't have to be like, "Oh, we don't get along, we have to say goodbye." It actually is asking. It's providing an opportunity for you to share what what happened and then have a conversation that allows you both to see the other person from a deeper perspective because you're now revealing a pain or a past experience that they didn't know before. And you can have a conversation on how to both move forward together. So again, conflict can be looked at as a way to get closer. It doesn't have to mean that you have to go separate ways or that it's inevitable that you're not meant to be friends or in a relationship. It doesn't have to mean that at all. It's been a huge learning in my own life. And yeah, so when you create space within yourself, when you feel safe within yourself, you can offer the gift of generosity. It requires that kind of emotional maturity, that kind of relationship with yourself in order to offer that kind of gift. Because that's what it is. We're not getting hijacked and triggered into the worst assumption. We're offering the gift that maybe how they're behaving isn't what I think it is. So you share the impact of what has happened, and then you ask for the other person's experience. That's what generosity can give you. It can give you the opportunity to get closer and to give someone a gift. So this acronym, it's really a great way to both reflect on our relationships with others, and it's also a great way to reflect on the relationship you have with yourself. So when something feels off, we can really look to each of these aspects and understand what has happened so we can address it. This will help us express our needs and develop more intimate relationships with others. It will also help us develop more self trust over time. Because when we're in touch with our needs and our desires, and we have language to communicate that, we really honor ourselves. And over time, we really cultivate more and more self love because of that self honoring. And it's so possible. I promise these are learnable skills, and we have our whole lives to develop them because we're always going to be presented with opportunities to see ourselves in relationship with others and to practice showing up and relating in new ways. We have our whole lives. You're never going to be the master of all of these skills. It's something that we continue to practice and we continue to evolve in. And it's totally possible. You just have to start. And braving trust, braving connection is such a great way to start that journey and to start getting more in touch with what is actually going on with your relationship with yourself and your relationships with others. So I hope it was helpful, and I will talk with you soon.